In the remote northeastern part of Japan, a Zen master named Hoshin lived out his days, imparting wisdom to his devoted disciples. Hoshin had spent many years in China, deepening his understanding of Zen, and upon his return to Japan, he continued to share his teachings with those who sought enlightenment. As Hoshin grew very old, he felt the weight of time upon him, and his thoughts turned toward the end of his earthly journey. With the wisdom and grace that marked his teachings, he decided to share a story he had heard during his time in China with his disciples. This story held a profound lesson, one that would resonate with his followers. Hoshin began to recount the tale. One year, on the 25th of December, there lived a Zen master named Takufu, who had reached a venerable age. He gathered his disciples and told them, "I am not going to be alive next year, so you fellows should treat me well this year." The disciples, thinking that their beloved teacher was jesting, exchanged glances and smiles. Takufu's request seemed out of character, but they respected his wishes nonetheless. Each disciple, in turn, treated him to a feast on succeeding days throughout the year. On the eve of the new year, Hoshin continued. Takufu addressed his disciples once more. "You have been good to me," he said. "I shall leave tomorrow afternoon when the snow has stopped." Again, the disciples thought Takufu's words were mere whimsy, for the night was clear, and without a trace of snow. They laughed among themselves at their teacher's playful demeanor. But as the clock struck midnight, a soft and silent snowfall began, covering the landscape in a pristine blanket of white. The disciples awoke the next day, eager to find their beloved teacher. They searched the temple grounds and meditation hall, but found no sign of him. Finally, they ventured outside, where the world had been transformed by the night's snowfall. In the midst of this serene beauty, they realized that their teacher had departed from this world. With a heavy heart, they returned to the meditation hall, where Takufu had shared his final moments of wisdom. There, they understood that their teacher had indeed known the time of his passing, and his words carried a profound lesson for those who listened. Hoshin paused in his storytelling, allowing the message to settle into the hearts of his disciples. They understood the significance of the tale, how a Zen master, in tune with the rhythms of life and nature, could sense the impending change and departure from this world. One of Hoshin's disciples, moved by the story, asked a question that weighed heavily on their minds. "Can you, Master Hoshin, predict your passing?" Hoshin, his eyes filled with a deep serenity, responded with unwavering confidence, "Yes, I will show you what I can do 7 days from now." His disciples, accustomed to their teacher's enigmatic wisdom, regarded his words with curiosity, but without certainty. In the days that followed, the question of Hoshin's prediction faded from their minds until the appointed day arrived. 7 days have passed, Hoshin declared, calling his disciples together. "As I mentioned before, I will leave you today. It is customary to leave behind a farewell poem, but I am neither a poet nor a calligrapher. I will require one of you to inscribe my final words." The disciples, unsure of what to expect, began to listen attentively. They had grown accustomed to their teacher's teachings, which often carried layers of meaning. What was Hoshin about to reveal? One of the disciples, tasked with recording his teacher's last words, readied himself. "Are you ready?" Hoshin asked. "Yes, sir," replied the disciple, a quill and parchment at the ready. Hoshin began to dictate his final words, and the disciple transcribed them faithfully. "I came from brilliance and returned to brilliance. What is this?" As the disciple finished writing, he realized that the poem was 1 line short of the customary 4. An unease settled over the disciples, who exchanged glances filled with uncertainty. They wondered what Hoshin meant by his cryptic verses. The disciple, holding the incomplete poem, hesitated and finally said, "Master, we are 1 line short." Hoshin, with a voice that echoed like the roar of a conquering lion, uttered a single syllable, "Ka." In that moment, as his disciples watched in awe, Hoshin's form dissolved into the very essence of existence, and he was gone. The disciples were left in stunned silence, their hearts filled with a mixture of reverence, wonder, and deep understanding. They realized that Hoshin had revealed the ultimate truth, that life is a fleeting brilliance, and in the end, we return to the same source from which we emerged. Hoshin's departure was not a sorrowful event, but a profound realization of the impermanence of all things. He had shown them that the mystery of life and death could be captured in the simplicity of a single syllable ka, a sound that encapsulated the boundless nature of existence. From that day forward, Hoshin's disciples continued to practice and study, carrying with them the wisdom of their teacher's final lesson. They understood that, like Hoshin, they too would return to the brilliance from which they had come, and in that understanding, they found a profound sense of peace and enlightenment.